Summary of Topdog Underdog by Suzan-Lori Parks. As the first scene of Topdog Underdog unfolds, Booth is shown sitting in a filthy apartment and practicing the game of three-card Monty while sitting on top of a cardboard box that is supported by milk crates. He practices his jokes by copying words and phrases he has heard con artists use on the street. His brother Lincoln walks in and cuts him off. Lincoln used to be a con artist and a three-card Monty trader. He is living with Booth because Cookie, his wife, left him. He has on a top hat, a long coat, and a fake beard. He just got home from his new job at the arcade, where he sits dressed as Abraham Lincoln while people shoot him with cap guns. He just started this job because he wanted to leave his dangerous job as a three-card Monty con artist. The outfit on Booth's brother scares him, so he turns around and points a gun at Lincoln, saying he will shoot him the next time he scares him like that. Lincoln says he had to catch the bus at work and didn't have time to take off his outfit. This doesn't calm Booth down, though, because he says Lincoln can't dress like that in this apartment because it will scare women away. Booth tells her that he has plans with his girlfriend Grace. He shows Lincoln a ring he stole to propose to Grace and says, "She's in love with me again, but she doesn't know it yet." He calls it diamond-esque and says it's just as good as the real thing as long as it looks real. Lincoln says that at first glance, he thought the ring was real. He even thought Booth bought it with his inheritance, the $500 that their mother left him when she left when they were kids. Lincoln also got an inheritance of the same amount, but spent it. Booth tells Lincoln that he has changed his name to three-card because he is going to be a very successful three-card Monty player. Lincoln then takes off his outfit. The second scene takes place the next night, when Booth breaks into the apartment wearing several stolen clothes. The two brothers are thrilled when Lincoln brings home a paycheck with new clothes and cash. They divide the money among themselves and figure out how much is left over after paying rent, bills, and buying alcohol. Booth hears from Lincoln that he's afraid that he'll be fired from the arcade because of reports about budget cuts. When Lincoln hears this, Booth argues that Lincoln should exaggerate his act as Abraham Lincoln to show how important he is. He agrees and tells Booth to practice, but Booth is already on his way to meet Grace for their date. After he leaves, Lincoln gets dressed as Lincoln and practices dying. He then drinks whiskey in his couch. Later that night, Booth comes home and tells Lincoln that Grace wants him back, which starts the third scene. "She really wants me back, too much. She erased the times we weren't together in the past so she could say we've never been apart. She wiped her hand over the fact that we broke up." Lincoln is happy for his brother, and Booth then brags about having sex with Grace. Booth says he's too tired to help Lincoln practice the Abraham Lincoln dance when Lincoln asks him to. At this point, Lincoln says Booth is lying because he said his brother didn't have sex with Grace. There are jokes about Booth's sexual magazines having pages that stick together because Booth spunked in the pages and didn't wipe them off. To defend himself, Booth says he needs constant sexual release and that he would waste money on things he doesn't need out of a need for unresolved sexual release if he wasn't taking care of himself. And then he says, "I gave it to Grace good tonight." When the brothers talk about three-card Monty again, Booth finally decides to help Lincoln practice his act. He does this by pretending to shoot Lincoln and then watching him squirm and scream on the floor. Getting scared, he tells his brother that the death seems too real or something. He agrees that this is a bad thing and says that people find historical shit funny and like it to unfold the way they folded it up. Like a book, all neat. Not ragged, bloody, and upset. In scene 4, Lincoln wakes up on a Saturday morning and plays three-card Monty while Booth is asleep to show himself that he is still good at it. His moves are much smoother and more studied than Booth's, and so is his talk. Booth wakes up and listens to his routine in secret while he goes through the moves. The room has been changed since the break. A few days have passed, and where the homemade three-card Monty table used to be, there is now a beautiful table set for a romantic dinner. Booth is by himself in the room, cleaning up and trying to hide his sexual magazines as he goes. He tells himself that Grace will show up, even though she's already late. Lincoln tries to get in at that moment, but Booth stops him by telling him he's not welcome in the flat tonight. Lincoln gets it, but he still tries to get in. Eventually, he gets Booth to open the door. He says, "I lost my job." He was apparently replaced by a wax figure. Booth lets him stay until Grace gets there, and while they wait, they talk about their past and how both of their parents left them to go on a date with someone else. Lincoln said that each parent was running away from different problems in their pasts that they thought would go away if they changed how they lived. While they wait for Grace, Lincoln and Booth drink whiskey. Booth told Lincoln that he wants to work with his brother as a hustler, taking advantage of people who don't know what's going on. When Lincoln hears this, he decides to teach them something about three-card Monte. He talks about how the dealer never says that he wants to play. This makes everyone in the crowd want to risk even more. He finally plays with Booth and moves the cards around. Booth's job is to pick the right card from the three that are on the table. Booth picks the right card after Lincoln's act is over. He yells, "Make room for 3 card. That champion is here." This happens a few times, and each time Booth gets more excited and sure of himself. He then tells Booth to show him how good he is at dealing, and the two of them switch places. Booth shows off his awkward skills, and Lincoln laughs out loud and tells him he's a little wild with it. Booth puts on his coat and puts his gun in his pocket as he laughs. Booth gets mad when he thinks about how late Grace is. Booth tells Link, "The world steps on your face and you don't move," when Link offers to go to the corner to call Grace. "You tell everyone to keep going." Link, "I'm my own man. I'm not you." He then leaves the flat and slams the door behind him. The last scene takes place the next night, and Lincoln storms into the room yelling, "Ta-da-dea." He takes $500 out of his pocket and talks about how great the day was, when he hustled people on the street in 3-card Monte. Booth walks in through the opening and listens as he is happy. Lincoln asks his brother how his night has been when he sees him. Booth tells him that Grace has actually asked him to marry her. This means that Lincoln needs to leave the apartment because Grace wants to live there. Lincoln doesn't care and agrees to leave the next day. He also tells his brother to get a job, saying that Grace will not like him as much if he doesn't bring in money. Booth gets angry and turns the talk into a fight by telling Cookie that he slept with her right before she left Lincoln. He says, "All she knew was that you couldn't get it up. She was mine. Your awful wife. In that bed." Booth's open hatred doesn't bother Lincoln much. He says he doesn't even think about Cookie anymore. But the brothers keep fighting, and Link makes fun of Booth for thinking he can make it as a card dealer. When they start to play 3-card Monte, Booth picks the best card, beating Lincoln. Lincoln tells Booth that he's pretty good. Booth, on the other hand, thinks his win is pointless since no money is at stake. He tries to fix this by putting down the $500 he earned that day, but Booth tells him it's not real until he also puts down some of his own money. Booth gets his gift, which is still tightly wrapped in the nylon stocking that his mother gave it to him. Booth tells Lincoln to deal the cards, but Lincoln says, "Don't put that down." Soon, Lincoln agrees, but only if Booth wins 2 games. Only then can Booth win the money. Yes, his little brother does pick the right card in the first round. Before making his second pick, Booth goes over the rules of the bet again, telling Lincoln that he will win if he makes the right choice again. Lincoln asks Booth, "You think we're really brothers?" Booth replies, "Plus I beat you for real." After dealing the cards, Lincoln tricks Booth and wins his fortune. Link tells Booth, "It's not your fault if your eyes are slow. Having fun with cards isn't the whole world." He starts to untie the nylon stocking and is amazed that Booth never even opened it to count the money. Lincoln then tells Booth that he was tricked by saying, "Because the first move is what makes a player different from a played. As a first step, you should know that you can't win." Booth suddenly admits that he killed Grace and is very angry about it. Lincoln decides to give Booth's brother back the wealth, but Booth's anger won't go away. Booth yells, "Go on. You opened it and won it." Link cuts the stocking open with a knife, but Booth grabs him from behind and puts the gun's barrel into his neck. "Don't," Lincoln begs, but Booth shoots him and kills him. After the gunshot, Booth walks back and forth while yelling at his dead brother. Suddenly, he falls to the ground, holds Lincoln's body, and screams in pain.
About the author. Suzan-Lori Parks was born in Fort Knox, Kentucky, in 1963 to a military family. As a child, she moved around a lot because her father was in the army. For a short time, she lived in Germany before coming back to the United States and going to Mount Holyoke College. During this time, she took a writing class with James Baldwin. Baldwin saw how talented she was and pushed her to become a playwright. Parks is best known for her play Topdog Underdog, which won the Pulitzer Prize. Her other plays, Imperceptible Mutabilities in the Third Kingdom and Venus, have also won awards. In 2003, she wrote a book called Getting Mother's Body. The next year, she helped Oprah Winfrey turn Zora Neale Hurston's book Their Eyes Were Watching God into a TV movie. She teaches at the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.